Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us to today's webinar, Understanding Programs and Eligibility for NJEDA, 50 million in new funding. This webinar is presented to you in collaboration with the Mercer County Office of Economic Development. My name is Lilian Mauro, and I am the Regional Director of the Small Business Development Center at the College of New Jersey. We provide counseling, training, and technical assistance for existing businesses and startups. We are part of a network of more than 1,000 centers nationwide, and 12 of them are in the state of New Jersey. Each center covers specific areas, and our SBDC at the College of New Jersey covers Mercer County with its 12 municipalities. We have a great team to serve the business community, and all programs are presented to you by highly qualified specialists, government representatives, faculty, knowledgeable business owners, and private consultants. They can help you to overcome the challenges that you may experience in operating your business. We provide one-to-one counseling at no cost to you, and also throughout the year, we offer no-cost and low-cost training sessions to learn more about running and growing your business. Our areas of expertise include but is not limited to business plan, marketing plan, website development, social media, procurement, international trade, retail, wholesale, manufacturing, QuickBooks, loan package development, and many more. Today, we are joining also with our counterparts at SBDC and Northwest, Mary Edelman, who is the Regional Director for Northwest Small Business Development Center, who covers Morris, Sussex, and Warren counties. And also we're joining with Jacqueline Mejia Fuentes, the Regional Director for the SBDC at Brookdale Community College, who covers Ocean and Monmouth counties. If you are located out of these counties, please contact SBDCNJ.com, and we were happy to assist you and refer you to your local SBDC. Also, we're funded by the Small Business Administration, by the New Jersey Business Action Center, Mercer County Office of Economic Development and Sustainability, the College of New Jersey, who is our host, and our local sponsor, Regional Business Assistance Corporation, and UCEDC. And with that, let me introduce you to the Director of Mercer County Office of Economic Development, Anthony Carabelli, who is a big supporter of our program. And also, as we have a Spanish program, thanks to the county. Anthony?
Thank you, Lilian. Thank you for all the support. And it's a strong partnership that we've built over the many years. It's over 15 years that we've had a longstanding relationship with the SBDC at the College of New Jersey. And the weekly webinars that we're trying to do on a weekly basis to inform the public on and the business community on a variety of different grants, incentives, loans that are available. This is our way of just trying to get us through this difficult time and get us through these uncharted waters that we've had to face over the last, several months. So our partnership's longstanding, and I'm thrilled that you are able to promote and reach out to the business community on our behalf. I also want to extend a thank you to NJEDA. As the press release went out regarding the grant program, they were in contact with our office and myself regarding this opportunity. It's something that's needed, and we're thrilled that it's being promoted this morning. Just to tell you a little bit about the Office of Economic Development, we like to call ourselves the one-stop shop for all business-related questions and needs here in Central Jersey and Mercer County. We assist businesses through our contacts at the federal, state, and local levels. We maintain relationships, obviously, with our 12 municipalities in Mercer County. I mentioned our SBDC partnership both in English and in Spanish, as Lily mentioned. We also have a new lending partnership with UCEDC. So if you're unsuccessful with some of the opportunities that NJEDA or some of the federal programs that have been unveiled, think of obviously another opportunity with our partners at the UCEDC. We have aggressive lending, generous lending that they're doing to the business community, and they're focused on one of the areas of focus is Mercer County. Feel free to reach out to me directly for more information on that opportunity. We also oversee the Mercer County One-Stop Office, and we have our on-the-job training grants available. We also are a foreign trade zone grantee. We offer free site selection services. So if you're looking for space within Mercer County, expansion or relocation, feel free to reach out. And then also we, through our clerk's office, offer the Mercer County Trade Name Certificate Program. Here's our contact information. My business advocate also is on the call, Darren Stewart. And this just provides some information on how to reach out to us. And now I want to turn it over to Christina Fuentes. Christina oversees the New Jersey EDA Small Business Services. She's the director there, does a phenomenal job. So Christina, why don't you take it away?
Sure, and I'm just going to share my screen, and there we go. Thank you, Anthony. Okay, hello everyone. So back in March, we essentially held our special board meeting to originally kick off a package of incentives and loans to really help out some small business owners. So we are, essentially, we've worked through, this was the first grant round that I'm sure a lot of people had, saw, and there was a lot of interest. I mean, within the first hour and a half, we were already oversubscribed. We got over 34,000 applications. We were very thankful that CRDA, the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority, kicked in $2 million as well to fund all of Atlantic County. So the $5 million was spread out a little bit farther. But the program was very specific. You had to fit into very specific parameters. You had to have a NAICS code of these that started with like 44, 45, 71, 72, 811, 812. These were all service industry related NAICS codes. And you couldn't have more than 10 full-time equivalent employees. And, still with the nonprofits, it's always going to be the 501c3s, C4s, and C7s. But again, because it was so specific, it was a little restrictive, and we totally understood, and we saw how many sole proprietors there were and how many 1099s and home-based. So when we finally received our allocation of CARES Act funding, we got a total allocation of $50 million, and we've taken 5 to address the backlog of the waitlisted for this program. And then we've created a separate program where we allocated $45 million to a more expanded version. So this one goes up to 10,000, and businesses that have anywhere from 1 to 25 full-time equivalent employees can qualify. So now also sole proprietors, there's no NAICS code restriction. Sole proprietors, 1099, home-based business can still qualify. The nonprofits will still be the same 501c3s, C4s, and C7s. Due to the Stafford Act, we can't fund nonprofits that are associated to lobbying efforts, so that's why the 6s are typically excluded. But again, if you're home-based, you still have to be registered to do business with the state, and you have to be in good standing with Department of Labor, and EDA will be doing those back-end checks like we did with the first round, so the documentation is pretty limited in what you have to supply to us. But you will need some documentation to kind of walk through the application, so we can highlight what those are. Another thing I just kind of want to emphasize too is this funding pool, we've carved out 15 million of that 45 will go specifically into the 715 approved opportunity zone census tracts. So this is not the governor's list, which was actually reduced. This is going to be the full, blown basically map of all of the areas and census tracts within these distressed cities that qualify for this. So what it does is on the back end, we will funnel those applications in a separate process, so it gives you a better chance of actually getting funding. And we did this to kind of help some of the communities where potentially Wi-Fi might be an issue or accessing a computer. You can do this through your smartphone if you want to, but still sometimes, it just gives people a better chance. And if you want to find out if you are within one of those opportunity zones, there is a link here in this presentation, and I'll send this to Lilian, so then that way it can be shared amongst everybody and everybody will have the same resources. We are addressing non-English speaking applicants as well too, but if you go in that portal that I highlight all the time, it's the COVID portal, which is at cv.business.nj.gov. You can see these applications in various languages. And then if you need help addressing questions prior to it going live, again, you want to get this done before it goes live on June 9th at 9 a.m. because at that time, you have to be ready to apply because it's still first come, first serve. So if you need help, you want to send an email right here to languagehelp@njeda.com. And then this way you can get any of your questions addressed ahead of time because you'll have until Tuesday, essentially, to address any of those needs. And when the application does go live, it will be live in English and in Spanish as well. So here's that list of required information. So you kind of, some homework you have to do essentially, but this shouldn't be too heavy of a lift. It's really just knowing like your EIN number, you know, you're going to look at revenue from March to May. That's going to be very specific. You'll have to look up those numbers from 2019 and compare them to 2020. And then there's also additional just basic business information that people should know. And then this is what the application will actually look like. It's very similar to the first one. It should be fairly easy to kind of walk through, but again, if you have questions, which I think totally is understandable for anybody, and not just like questions, like maybe if you're hesitant about like how you should answer something, that's why you should really go to that portal. You can see right down here, this is it. It's there's a chat bot that you can instantly talk to someone and say, hey, you know, I was looking at the application and it says this, but what does that mean? Because sometimes these, you know, they're very technical in terms. And so I could totally understand why people would have doubts or questions. So please feel free to reach out and make sure you get those addressed before it goes live. Again, this is just basic contact information and your address for the business. You know, if you're a sole prop, you're going to look at your tax returns. How do you file? And then you're going to look at your W-2 employees. If you do have 1099, you can enter them there. But if you are a 1099 person yourself that owns the business, and you hire additional 1099s as well, those 1099 employees essentially would qualify for the grant themselves, and you would qualify as well. So you want to make sure that you're, you know, you qualify for the minimum though. That's the downside of it. Unfortunately, again, it measures W-2 employees. So it's for people who have filed their WR30 for the first quarter of 2020. So that's definitely something you want to pull out from your records. If you file with ADP, make sure you follow up with them and kind of say like, you know, it would have been filed at the end of April. So you want to pull that from your records, see how many people you filed with, go to the estimator, put that in, make sure you understand potentially what you're looking at and what your grant size could be. If you know your NAICS code, you can input it. If you don't, you can walk through this process that will help you select it. This is just basically additional questions. Businesses of sin are typically not allowed for any federal dollars. So that's all we're kind of getting out there. Just more business specific here. You're going to make sure you input your revenues. I would calculate those now. Please don't wait until June 9th to do this stuff. And again, just more specific questions about your business. They will ask you about other federal funds that you may have received. So duplication of benefits is a very real thing that people should be very aware of because these are CARES Act dollars as well. And so was PPP and EIDL. So you want to make sure that if you get a grant that you are using it for something different than what you've received PPP for. PPP was very specific. It had to be, you know, 75% payroll, and then the rest went to rent and utilities or any other expenses. So you want to make sure if you got that for a specific time period that when you get your grant funds, you are using it in a different way. Maybe it's inventory. Maybe it's going to be your rent by, you know, June, July, whatever it's going to be, but make sure you just document it. And that's just me personally trying to warn small businesses. You want to make sure in the back end that in case if there's ever questions in a year from now, you know that you can address them and prove how you spent your dollars. And these are just legal debarment questions that we typically walk through at EDA. And you would sign it electronically. Here's your breakdown essentially of what it would be calculated on. And then this will be your confirmation. So I want to highlight to people, you want to take a screenshot of your cell phone. You want to make sure, most importantly, you are putting the right email because it's going to get kicked back to you and to that email that you've put in. And you will be sent a grant application as well, but it's going to that email. So if you put it in wrong, it won't go to you. So you want to make sure you have that right email. I can't emphasize that enough. If you've moved too fast and maybe you put it in wrong, and then you see this and you're like, oh no, make sure you contact us right away so that way we can try and fix it for you, okay? And then this is the information similar to the first one where I was talking about the estimator. You can go on the COVID portal, you can put in that information from your WR30 and kind of figure out what you would qualify for. Because they are full-time equivalents, part-timers add up to full-timers. So that's why we put this estimator so people can understand and kind of project what they're looking at. This is another, back in March, this was a product that we created, and it was just like an easy fit for EDA to essentially put a $10 million reserve on our balance sheet to support the CDFIs. So as Anthony mentioned, UCEDC, they're actually one of our partners as well too. A community development financial institution, and they're all New Jersey-based entities as well too. And they're pretty much through the regs, and they're federally regulated. 60% of their applicants have to come from low to moderate income. So we're looking to really kind of tap into communities and really help these communities that we as EDA, we're trying to spread basically as much as we can possibly do. And that's why we look to our 6 partners. They created their own COVID working capital products as well, and they're offering them now. And what EDA does is we will cover those loans up to 50% if they default in the future. So it helps the CDFIs kind of leverage their dollars a little bit better and be more open to doing riskier loans. So these were the 6 entities, and they've all created their own products. They will have their own applications. They do their own underwriting. So if anyone's interested in the products that they have, you can reach out to them. UCEDC is a great contact for Mercer County. And then you also have RBAC, but then also New Jersey Community Capital has created the Garden State Relief Fund application, which can be all done online. And that's for a working capital loan up to $75,000, and there's no collateral requirements from that too. Our other 3 entities like CBAC, they serve South Jersey, the 7 southern counties. But they just started releasing their working capital product, and it's a $20,000 working capital loan you could qualify for. GNEC, which will offer a specific product for Newark only. It's an Entrepreneurs of Color Relief Fund that they're putting together as well. And then First Bergen will be going live this week with their working capital product as well. These are our traditional products that EDA offers. The micro business loan is the newest one, and that's where you can qualify for up to $50,000 for working capital or equipment. It has very flexible terms in the sense that it's a 10-year loan term at a guaranteed 2% rate, and you can hold off your payments for 3 years. So that's an automatic 3 years of no payments. And if you're a startup, it's really patient capital because it allows you to start up essentially. Again, you would be a business that is a startup, or you could just be, on a micro business, a smaller scale. You have less than 10 full-time employees. You're making less than 1.5 million, and you're looking potentially for, the working capital can be payroll, marketing expenses, your rent. We're not looking for basically I understand you're going to be impacted by COVID, but it's also how can I pivot myself as a business owner, right? So some businesses don't have a social media presence sometimes. And so some of the people that I've been talking to, they're like, hey, I need to hire a marketing firm to set up, an Instagram and Twitter because I don't know how to do this. And I can honestly say I don't blame them because I'm not tech savvy, and it makes sense, why they want to do this. And everybody's online now. And, I think we've kind of learned that the online presence really helps your business. So this is a way you can kind of fund that if you are looking for those funds. Then we also have a small business fund that's for businesses that have been a little bit more established, making less than 3 million still, but been in a business for at least a full year. Nonprofits can qualify, but you have to be in business for at least 3 full years as well. And then you can graduate up to a direct loan, and that product is really specific for or very helpful in the fact that if you want to go from renting, you've been in business for a couple of years or longer, and you're looking to maybe expand, you want to rent, you're renting now, but now you want to buy your building, or you found a really cheap property you want to invest in. This is a really great tool to be able to do that. This highlights PPE, and when I send the slides, they will have live links to the intake forms that you can fill out. And if you are a supplier, you can fill this out and it puts you on a registry so you can offer these. There's a big disclaimer at the bottom, but it's just a helpful tool for anyone who can participate in this. We are actively in this Restart and Recovery Advisory Councils. So these are all the councils that have a lot of locals involved, whether it's business owners or officials, to kind of get their input for the best way to really communicate to these small business owners, and so everyone can be on the same page. As you've seen probably in the press, I mean, we're potentially going to be looking at openings in June, thankfully. So hopefully everyone can kind of be opening on the same page and following the same rules and standards. Again, this is the portal. I just want to highlight to everyone, if you can see my mouse right here, there is that search bar. I can't emphasize enough how helpful that search bar tool is. I myself use it. Let's say you're looking for SBA technical assistance. You can type that in, and the 4 entities that EDA has contracted to offer people assistance with their PPP applications will come up. And if you haven't filed your PPP and you're still interested, I highly recommend you do that. They do these services for free, but they also have the connections with the banks. So I know a lot of people, you know, especially like women and minorities who really didn't get addressed in the first round and kind of got ignored by their bank or took their application and it's still pending months later. Please follow through and do it again, because you are eligible for these funds and you should qualify for them and get them because they're there for you. It's a resource. You should pursue those. So even if you put an application in and that bank didn't, you know, follow up with you, I've connected a lot of people to these resources and people actually are getting their funds. I mean, there's a lot of applications coming in, and the relationships with that bank is, you know, they have the bank relationships that they want to help people, and that's the most important thing. So please, if anyone's still pursuing those and you haven't submitted an application and you need help doing it, follow up with them. And then there's also a job portal too that you can reach out to for anybody who's potentially looking, or if you need to hire, you can also post jobs there as well too. And that's it. I'm sure there'll be questions, so.
Yes, we're gonna go to some questions, Christina. Let me go into the chat. And one of the questions that I saw was, if somebody already applied for round first,
yes,
can they get a grant? Can they reapply for round
so
two?
if they've already received funds, you can apply for the second round, but you would have to basically have an increase in employees from that first quarter, because we looked at your last quarter of 2019 WR30. So now we're looking at a different quarter. So if you had an increase of employees, then yes, you would qualify for that difference. But if it's still the same or it decreased, then no, you wouldn't qualify.
Okay. Let me just go into the next question, trying to get into. Okay, it says, I am structured as an LLC with 2 full-time and 1 part-time. I am also full-time in my business and take a draw bi-weekly, but no a W-2. How do I enter that?
Okay, so his employees are W-2'd, but he isn't? Is that what I just heard?
It says 2 full-time and 1 part-time.
But they're W-2'd?
But it says, I take a draw bi-weekly, but no a W-2.
Okay, so he would capture his W-2'd employees still through his WR30. I'm gonna assume they're W-2'd. But he would still be able to qualify for this incentive.
Okay, so I opened my business on December 2019. I have part-time employees, and I am not sure if I will qualify for this grant.
Yep, yeah, you had to be established and registered with the state prior to the declaration of the emergency, which I think March 6th or 9th, I can never remember which date it is. So as long as you are registered, open for business, you know, you don't technically even have to be open for business, but if you are registered, still in good standing with the Department of Labor, you can still apply.
Okay. As an LLC, we have 3 active members. What receive a K-1? Do this count?
So you have active, is this a nonprofit?
LLC.
I mean, and then what are the members though? I don't, like, so they're not W-2'd, right? They're just.
This says K-1. They receive a K-1.
I'll have to ask about that. I mean, I would think, I'm not sure why they're saying they're members. I mean, typically that's a nonprofit, would be run by members, you know, so it's a little, if you can follow up with me with that person's info, I can get more details.
Okay. Yes, and also we are recording this presentation, and we're gonna submit the recording and with the questions to all attendees. And also any further question, please, you know, we will follow up on that.
Yeah.
It says, what if I have an LLC, but I am the owner? I have 2 W-2s and 2 1099s. I don't take any funds till end of the year. I take profit and report on a Schedule C.
Okay, so he will still get credit for his W-2. Those 1099 employees, though, need to file their own application. He can put them in there, but you get credit for your W-2. So he would essentially count as the LLC sole prop, and then he has W-2, and then the 1099s do their own application.
Okay. What happened if you were in business? If you were not in business in March, May 2019, my store opened in November 2019.
Oh, the problem is they're going to have no revenue in 2019, essentially. So they would have to put 0 revenue in there.
Okay.
So here's the thing too. And then if they are declined for that, right? So as people went through that first process, there was a declination, right? You were declined, and then there's an appeal process. So I would recommend that if they are declined and have to go through the appeal process, they would highlight, you know, and you're also putting the year that you established an open business. I think that was one of the questions. So you want to make sure as you go through the appeal process, you would highlight, I wasn't open during that time period, so you can't, there's nothing to compare it to. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Okay.
So they would look to there's like another question for like how have you been affected by COVID? There was like a decrease in something else. There's a percentage question, and that's where they would look to the need for that. Okay. Hopefully it makes sense.
Okay. Now, for people who were in the queue, the round 1, do they need to reapply again, or they just
so all the people that applied for round 1 were sent notifications already. You would have received an email saying you're waitlisted, and then you're being looked at for the people, because they are looking at the waitlisted and processing those applications from the waitlisted still. So everybody was sent those notifications. I think you are going to get them a total of 3 times before this actually goes live. So make sure you pay attention to those emails you provided. They are being sent out. If you want to apply for the second one still, I mean, there's no harm or foul for you applying. You'll still go through the application process. So let's say you are waitlisted, you still, like, if you potentially get declined, you want to make sure you have an application in anyway for the second one. So I just recommend people to walk through it, the second one still.
The second one, okay, great. Now, we received the PPP, will be eligible for this.
Yeah, you're still eligible, but I just make sure I tell people on the back end, it's just me personally, like, you know, trying to help people out, like, just be mindful that you're not spending the dollars in the same way. You know what I mean? You're still eligible though.
Okay. How long will it take from the applying for the grant and to receive the company approval? So
that's really going to depend on what time you get in. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people applying for this. It's a statewide grant. So ideally, we are going to have funds already out that first week to the people that, you know, are going to be essentially in the beginning of the queue, because it's all automated like the first one was, where we essentially, they get approved. They also will get an agreement, and then we deposit the funds immediately. There is a little bit more of a review to this application compared to the first one because it was federal dollars. So we had to put in additional questions and a little bit more checks. But I don't see this taking a long time if you are in that first essential batch, I would say. So it's really going to depend on what time your application gets submitted, how fast you get dollars.
Okay. I started an LLC in 2012, but I have no revenue. I've worked as a W-2 contract employee, and I eligible.
So if you're W-2'd, and yeah, I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't be, because there's no revenues, why they're doubtful, or? Yeah, I mean, they would
Yes,
still
I'm
qualify for
sorry.
the minimum.
Yes, I asked that question. Yeah.
Okay.
I started my LLC in 2012,
Uh-huh.
but because I've gotten jobs through W-2s, you know, like I've
Oh.
not done 1199 work, etc. So I
Mhm.
have never had any income from my business. So what I'm trying to understand is, would I be eligible with my LLC for these loans, even though I've had no revenue?
So it's a grant, but yeah, as long as your LLC has been registered with the state to do business and you have no other, you know, hang up or issues like with Department of Labor, yeah, you could still qualify for the minimum of 1,000.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I have another question. And I have, this is something similar. I am a single member LLC with no W-2s. I filed a Scale C on my personal return. I just compared my revenues from last year to show that I took a hit this year. Is that correct?
One more time, sorry. What do they do?
I am a single member LLC with no W-2s.
Okay,
I filed my Scale C on my personal return.
yeah, so minimum, you know, you'll still be able to count yourself.
Okay. Can I include outstanding income in my calculations for income? Some clients have delayed payments. Some clients are federally funded and currently shut down.
I wouldn't, because you want to show you have less revenue. That's the more, you know, that'd be helpful to you to show less, to be honest. So I wouldn't include any pending dollars, just because a lot of small businesses, especially that are contract based, that I've like security firms too, they're experiencing delays in payments because, you know, people aren't in their office, they can't process checks. So I would just, you know, stick to what you have.
Okay. Where on the application do you enter the owner of the LLC who is not a W-9 employee or 1099?
Where on the application? Is that
Yeah.
where?
Is that, yes, that's the question.
But it's the owner of the business, or?
The owner of the LLC who is not a W-9 employee or 1099.
So what are they then? They're working off the books?
Is it,
Whoever asked that, can you unmute yourself and then so you can talk to me?
Is Jill on the call?
Well, I mean, so if somebody's like working off the books, you really kind of don't want to highlight that.
Hi. No, I'm sorry. He doesn't get a W-2. We take money out of the business at the end of the year or when it's there, but he doesn't get a paycheck, so to say. We have 2 full-time employees.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know if he counts toward that, if he goes into the number and it makes 3, or it's just the 2 full-time employees.
So you have 2 full-time that are W-2'd, and then you have this extra person that you use as needed, I'm gonna say?
Well, he works full-time, part-time, it depends on what we're doing, but he doesn't take a salary from the business. He just
So you're not putting him on your WR-30 though, when you file it on a quarterly basis, right?
No.
Yeah, so I would just stick away from including that person and then keep to your 2 people that you can document, you know?
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Who will be the 3 reminders have come from for my wait list in round one? I got my application number, but no reminders.
They got no emails is what they're saying from
They just
EDA.
got the application number, that's all, but they don't have the reminders. They haven't received the reminders.
Okay. But they're waitlisted or they're oversubscribed, did they say?
No, but they got the application number, so that means I can. Said I got my application number, but no reminders.
Yeah.
So that is somebody on that can talk for them?
Yeah, Lilian, can you hear me?
Yes.
I have an application number and I got an email acknowledging saying the funds have been exhausted, so oversubscribed. And they sent a PDF of my application back. From what I gather, what you said, Christina, that I'm supposed to get a couple of reminders, but I don't have any. Who would they have come from? That's my question. So I can look
It
at my
still
email.
would have came from EDA, but the fact that you're already oversubscribed, I mean, there should have still been additional emails coming to you saying that, but you would definitely want to apply for round 2 just because in the automatic you were oversubscribed anyway.
Okay. The other question is,
Does that mean I lose my place in the queue from round 1?
Yeah, I mean, if you got an automatic response, what was the number after G in your confirmation email? Do you have that?
Yep, looking at it right now, it is G. I got CV19L6,
Okay, that's a
18.
loan. That's a loan you're talking about.
So I
Yeah.
should look for it. Okay.
So, okay, there is a status tracker for the loans on the COVID portal that you can, but you still got an oversubscribed email, you said?
Oversubscribed, correct. Thus far,
Okay.
funding for this program is oversubscribed. So you should not expect a decision from NJEDA on this application for this round of funding.
Okay, so that's why you didn't get any follow emails yet, because they haven't sent them out. But what's your, it's CVD19
No.
and then it's L what?
No, Charlie Victor 19L6, 183.
183. I can look it up for you and see, because
Thank you.
they've worked through the first 256 so far. So as people are funneling through, you can go on the status tracker to kind of see what the status is. If you're probably still going to get oversubscribed, but I can see if your application's been pulled into the system yet.
Thank you.
Christina, it's
Yeah.
Anthony. I just had a question based on one of the questions that I saw in the chat. So when you mentioned earlier on about the 15 million being dedicated to opportunity zone businesses,
Yes.
but when you click on that link, does it verify whether you're in an opportunity zone? If, like, let's say you are, but you're actually not, will it kick you out and bounce you out of it?
I mean, like if people lie about their address or?
No, I'm just saying, like, where can you verify whether you're in an opportunity zone?
That's what that link is for. You'll input your address of the business and it will tell you if you're in an opportunity zone or not. Yeah, because not everybody's going to know their census tract. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know.
Yeah, right. But they should check that first, right? They should take a look at that, because you get not special treatment, but there's a pool of money there that is less competitive than it would be for the overall remaining money that's there.
Yeah, and then we will funnel that on the back end based upon the address and the census tract. Like, we'll do that paperwork. I know a lot of people have said, like, have interpreted it as being a separate application, but it's not. We will just funnel those applications too. So if you are within one of those qualifying areas, you do have a better chance of funding because it's a little bit of a nichier, it's very specific tracks. So if you're located within those, it gives you a better chance.
Okay.
Yeah. Can the gentleman who had the question about the loan, Lilian, can you send him like my email or like how I can get connected to him?
Yeah, Christina, I do have your email. Lilian was
Okay.
kind enough to share with me, and I'll send you the
Perfect.
question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next question is, if the WR30 is 50% of your full-time equivalent count, then the grant is for the number that in New Jersey or for all full-time employees? Okay.
So the WR30 should be New Jersey employees, because that's how you calculate your unemployment insurance and all the additional taxes you have to pay for your employees. So WR30 for that first quarter is what it is basically, and that's how the grant is calculated based off of those number of employees. So they would want to go into the estimator and kind of play with those numbers to see what they would qualify for and use the report.
Okay, right. And there's a lot of questions are coming in. Some of them you already answered.
Well, there's like 90 people on this, so you know.
I
know I'm fine with answering these questions, you know.
Right. the next question is, we are a small Christian preschool located in a church. Do we qualify?
I mean, are you registered to do business with the state? That's really the big question. Like, are you a legitimate business, or is this just something, you can easily be a legitimate business renting space from that church, or even if you get that space for free, you would still qualify. But the biggest kicker is, did you register your business with the state?
Okay. We didn't file taxes for 2019 because they extended. Is 2018 acceptable?
That's a good question. That's something I have to put to senior leadership. I would have to follow up with that person. I think that's the first time I've gotten that, but that's a really good question. You didn't have to pull what's on your tax return. You can just say, so I would put your 2018 number but what's going to happen, I can already tell you, because you haven't filed with taxation in 2019, it's going to kick back that you didn't file, because we're going to check it on the back end. So people who didn't file might be declined, but that's a good thing that we should probably look at now before this goes live, how we would deal with that. So if you are declined, you would still have to go through that appeal process. And that's where you would justify why,
Right.
Let me write that down, actually. Yeah. But you would still look at your 2019, like what you actually, because you will be doing your 2019 returns. So you want to make sure whatever that information you potentially would be putting in 2019 would be the same information. Because I think the extension's only to July something, I want to say, for tax returns for the federal. Okay.
Yeah. So next questions. If you're not in the census tract eligibility zone, should we still submit an application? I don't understand the comment about the approved zone.
Absolutely. You still submit an application, whether you're in, whether you're out. Don't feel like, it's really for managing expectations. I would think that it would help you kind of, see if you are in that zone, then, hey, I have a better chance at that 15 million. But even people who, once the 15 million is eaten up, there's still the, the remaining balance of the 30 million that's going to go to everybody.
Thank you. This is October 2019. I purchased a competitor's business that is now about 40% of my sales. That 40% increase, but it's not reflected in 2019 actual revenue. Should I include what those would have been in 2019 to give a true impact, even though my actual revenue would have been lower?
No, go based off of actuals. Go based off what if you haven't filed those tax returns yet, go based off of what you will be filing. Keep it to what it truly is.
Okay. We started a new business in January 1st and only have W-30s for first quarter 2020. Can we apply, and that's the only thing that we need to supply?
You can apply, but you will, you're not going to supply those. You're going to want to reference those because you have to input that information into the application. We do the verification on the back end, so you won't have to supply them. It's really just so you're making sure you're looking at the document to input the right number. And then you're going to want to look at the difference in your revenue expenses, like all the additional things that are going to be in that application. Again, you're not uploading documents. You don't have to do that. We do all the back end checks.
Just to be clear, the application will be live on June 9th, correct?
Yes, it's June 9th at 9 a.m., but you can see it now. You can go to that portal, you can pull it up, you can walk through it, you can go through all those questions in multiple different languages. And, I highly recommend people go through it, get comfortable with it, look at all those questions. If you don't understand what they're asking for, that's when you should definitely reach out and follow up with it.
Right. And then also remember, we're gonna make this presentation and the recording available to you. And hopefully we're gonna try to do it by tomorrow, so you will be able to review all the application. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us and Christina, so we'll be able to answer the questions before the application may go live.
And it's on the COVID portal as of yesterday. It was on there, so people can you know, definitely feel free to go through there. And then there's also the chatbot option too. So people can, you know, as they're working through it, feel free to ask people questions.
Right. And this application, as you mentioned, is available also in Spanish, so it would be great.
Christina,
Yeah.
I just have one more. Just so let's say someone's unsuccessful for this grant, and you mentioned obviously the micro business loan, which is obviously a loan rather than a grant, and completely different terms. Is it less competitive though, that program, and does it cover the same types of businesses that this grant covers, like, you know, at-home businesses and, you know, things like that? I just was interested just to learn a little bit more about that program.
So right now for micro business, home-based and nonprofits are not eligible because it was only $1 million of a pool of funds. We are looking to tweak that though, because if we potentially get additional funds for more loans, we would be opening that up to probably home-based businesses. But under this currently, they are not eligible, but it's a loan application, so it's a traditional product. So all it means is you're supplying a lot more documentation essentially, but it's very flexible because we're really looking for how can we help true small business owners that are mom and pop, downtown, running their own business. We look at, you know, okay, do you have income from outside that you work a job plus you run this business? We look to like kind of help support that global cash flow. So then that way we can make sure you're covering the debt service. But we don't have any NAICS code restrictions on that product. It's really just, you know, there's an application that's on our website where you can get more information about it. And there's a link to the application, but I recommend people reach out to me directly. I've been processing those applications myself. And there's a checklist too that kind of helps you, okay, what kind of paperwork do I have to get organized? Because it's last 3 years of tax returns. It's a definite true underwriting process, you know, but it's also a good alternative, I will say, for people who submitted the loan for that loan. Although it's not up to 100,000 like the loan was at 0% interest rate, it's still 50 at 2%. But you can work through the system a little bit faster. So if you do need something, like, you know, it's a definite alternative for those loan applications that feel like, you know, maybe, you know, unfortunately that was oversubscribed at like 934, I think. And so they're finally getting through applications that are closer to 10. And so for people who may have submitted an application a day later, I would suggest maybe looking at this.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, that was a long answer for that.
No, that's good.
I don't see more questions. They're asking about your e-contact information.
Okay, I'll put it in the chat. I'm not giving you my personal contact though. Oh my goodness, I would be totally, here's to everyone. This is an email box that's ran by staff. So even if you have questions about the micro business loan and everything like that, then they just connect you to me is how it works.
Okay. Another question just came in. Could you please clarify how to calculate full-time employees if you have a mix of full-time, part-time, and contractors?
That's where you want to go in the estimator.
Okay.
The estimator does that for you because it's based off of specific hours that that person works, and then the hours add up. So that's where the part-timer will add up to that full-timer, and that's what the calculator does for you.
What is the website to apply for the microloan program? Is the microloan program available?
I'm typing it right now. So it's NJEDA.com, and then you go to financing and incentives, and then select the micro business loan in the drop-down menu. Okay. And so there you'll get more details about the micro business loan. You will need a code. What I did is I put a code in place to prevent people from moving forward without talking to someone, because there's an application fee, because those of you who don't know, EDA, we don't get an appropriation from the governor. We exist based off fees that we charge for our products. So this is a traditional product, so there's a $300 application fee for it. So I didn't want people paying a fee because I can't refund you per my regs. And so, you know, I didn't want people moving too fast, applying for it because, you know, out of desperation, which I totally understand, but then I would be stuck in this bind of not being able to refund you. And to me, $300 is a lot. So I didn't want people to have to be subjected to that. So you would have to talk to me before you can actually officially apply.
Hi,
This is
Yes.
Glenn. I had, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Glenn. Go ahead with your question. I asked Glenn to unmute it so we can clarify in his question.
Okay.
Great, thank you. So I was the person who asked the question earlier about the LLC having 3 members.
Okay. Yeah.
So the way that we are structured is we are obviously an LLC. We have 3 members. We all take a weekly draw. And then at the end of the year, we issue a K-1. And then the K-1 is used on our personal tax returns, and we're taxed on that pass-through basis. We do have a couple of W-2 part-time employees. And I've had difficulty with a number of the different programs in figuring out how to categorize us because as members, we're really not getting any benefit out of any of the programs that are available. It's certainly helping our W-2 employees, but we actually subcontract the majority of our work. So can you give a little bit of clarification?
So as a member, you're technically an owner. So there's 3
Correct.
owners. Okay. I got you now. So all 3 of you can apply. That's how.
Okay.
But unfortunately, you're only going to get the minimum unless somebody wants to take. I mean, I don't know if those part-timers are going to add up to a full-timer. You might want to go in the estimator to figure that one out. It's going to be based off the WR30, so you can input those. But all 3 of you would qualify for the minimum, though.
Okay, and will we enter that in? Do we enter our weekly draw, or do we enter in?
No, you wouldn't enter those. You don't have to prove the income from there. But you will all want to make sure you look at essentially how the LLC, the revenue that's based upon that, and make sure you're answering the same questions like equivalently. And I would say whoever's going to take, it's basically like, you know, when you have children and you're trying to get the dependent claim, right? One of you should take whoever, if you do qualify for W-2 employees, only one of you should take that potential additional dollars, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for speaking up too, because that was really complicated to understand.
Thank you, Glenn. Okay, I don't see more questions right now. Remember, we're going to submit this recording of the presentation and to all attendees. And we also thank you, Christina, for this presentation. And we are having our next event is going to be on June 10th. And this is an event hosted by SBDC at Brookdale Community College, but we are joining them to understand the PPP process to maximize forgiveness. So if you received your PPP and have questions regarding how to apply for the forgiveness portion, please join us. We will send also an invitation with the link to register for this event. And this is also in collaboration with Mercer County Office of Economic Development.
So I do want to highlight something, Lilian, for the sole proprietor and the 1099s, and they can qualify for PPP. They did change the rules to that. I know in the beginning they were not eligible, but it's like a different calculation. And I learned that yesterday myself. I didn't know that as well. And but I was part of a different webinar, and I learned through the Women's Business Center up in Chatham. They are allowing sole proprietors, but again, you look at a different calculation based off of your 1040 Scheduled C, line 31, and it takes your net profit. And then there's like a whole different calculation for that. So I can connect someone to this entity. They actually, although it's the Women's Business Center, they serve everybody because SBA supports them. But he gave me such like really good, useful information regarding a PPP application. So happy
Yes,
to
there's
answer them.
a lot of questions coming in now, which is the forgiveness part, and people are still confused. So this is
Yeah.
why we're having this event to be clear, and you also answer questions from the audience. You know, what are the questions that they having right now?
Yeah.
In order to get this forgiveness.
Yeah. I will send you my slides too, okay?
Yes, please do. Thank you so much, Christina, for
Yeah.
joining us. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Remember, the SBDC at TCNJ and the Mercer County Office of Economic Development are here to assist you. And any questions you may have concerning your business needs, please reach out to our center at 908-295-5926 or 609-789-8364. Also, you can contact the County Office of Economic Development at 609-989-6555, or you can connect with Anthony Carabelli, a Carabelli Jr. at mercercounty.org. Anthony, just get back to you to your final words.
No, I just want to thank NJEDA and Christina for all the information. It was very informative. Thank you, Christina.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you so much, Christina, for being a speaker again. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. Remember, we will share this presentation and the recording to all attendees. And any questions, remember, we are here to help. Let us know. There's no cost for our services, and we can assist you in any questions or you may have. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Christina, and thank you, Anthony.
Thank you.